only black kid until my sister was there, or there may have been another black kid in the school.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of thinking that I was sort of a test case for the faculty, for the school itself, for the district, in the sense that I think they might have uh, gosh, been a bit protective in ways that I had not was not completely aware of.
Well, don't cut yourself too much slack. My memory of the thing was that we were, and sure was, of the schools in the Meadowville School District, was probably the best high school in the district.
Yeah.
It was, if I remember the stats correctly, we were 80% Hispanic, about 11 to 12% Asian, the rest of it mostly Anglo,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was you.
There was the sliver that was me.
There's the sliver that was you, and obviously a couple of other people.
Yeah.
And we were, and I remember this stat. I remember sitting in a room and having this quoted to us after we took this PSAT thing, which we walked into a room, they handed us a test and said, take this, everything's fine. It's right. Like a practice test, and that was it. And it was, and finding out later, it was something that actually mattered.
Yeah.
Without being prepared for it. And what we were told was we were in the bottom 8% of high schools nationally on an academic scale.
Mm-hmm.
So however you sliced it, we really were not a place to be challenged. And we can.
You were talking about AP courses. I'm going to interrupt you. You're talking about AP courses. I think I took an AP course, and it was in philosophy.
Oh, okay.
So I had it was David LeBeau.
Oh wow!
Choir director,
LeBeau is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
He taught the course, and I think that was the only AP course that I took. But go ahead.
I didn't know about any AP classes. I was going to say, I grew up in South San Gabriel, which is a little further away from Montebello Northridge than you were.
Yeah.
There was a book I read recently, and I was up against Potrero Grande, and the book was by a guy named Luis Rodriguez, who later became the poet laureate of Los Angeles. And let me just lay it out here. This is kind of a painful memory, and it's very recent. I was having what you would call flashbacks, and I've actually talked to a couple of psychologists about this. There's a lot of violence on my street when I was growing up. People got shot because we were in Lomas territory, which was... And they were at war. And the guy, this Luis Rodriguez, who wrote this book, was a member of Lomas. And he wrote a book called Always Running. And he did this book about my neighborhood. I mean, the specific street I grew up on and it was mind-blowing for me. And he talked about the history of South San Gabriel, my specific area. And it was kind of powerful for me. What it said was basically, Monterey Park up through the early 60s, because of the Housing Act, which you brought up, had housing covenants. And Rosemead to the east of me had housing covenants, and Alhambra had housing covenants. So if you were a person of color, you had to live in South San Gabriel because it was unincorporated LA County. And so most of the people living there were people of color, Hispanic. And he said also you had people coming out of places like Manzanar and Tule Lake after World War II, the internment camps, who were a lot of my friends. And the other people were poor white folk who couldn't afford to live anywhere else. And that was how we fit in. And that was what that community was. And that helped me a lot to understand, why was I living here? And when I was in corporate, I remember having people say, well, you lived in this awful neighborhood. Why did you just move to San Marino? And I'm going, well, yeah, because we were eccentric white people. Why did we just, we could have lived in San Marino, but we decided to live in this cruddy East LA neighborhood with an active gang war going on. And, when I was 5, tell you one story, there was a dairy. You go 5 houses down the street, then up Potrero Grande. There was an East Side dairy there, and I go there. And if I had a dime, which I never had, the guy there would give you a popsicle with 2 popsicle sticks on it, and I'd always had a nickel. And I'd find a friend who also had a nickel, and he'd break the popsicle in half and give it to us. And his guy was Dave, high school kid. And sometimes I'd go up there by myself with a nickel, and I'd say, "Hey, Dave, I got a nickel," and he'd go, "Kid, don't do this to me." I'd say, "Oh, come on, Dave, give me the popsicle." And he would save half a popsicle with a stick in the bottom of the freezer for me. Well, one night through my window, I heard pop, 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 like that. Just pop, 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 pop.